Introduction to Special Education Assessments. Hello, my name is Mariana Leñero. I'm a neuropsychologist and I have worked with children and teens with special needs for more than 20 years, conducting neuropsychological assessments. As part of this unit, I'm presenting an overview of the special education assessments, the different types, and the process the specialists follow. It is important to remember that we are presenting this from a psychoeducational perspective, not a legal one. Let's begin. Every time we request a service for our child, for example, support in academics or in socialization and behavior, we need to prove that there's a need for that service. This proof can be obtained through an assessment process. An assessment process is a complex process that should be conducted in the areas related to the suspected disability, and it's important to clarify that that process must be conducted by qualified specialists such as neuropsychologists, psychologists, or educational psychologists. There are 4 important pillars of the assessment process. We will discuss each one in depth: the interviews, the observation, the analysis of the informal assessments, and the norm reference or standardized test. With the interviews, the specialist will obtain information about the development history of the child, the family and educational history, pregnancy, labor, and delivery, and also the current problems your child is having in different environments, not just at school, but also at home. The specialist will ask you, for example, when your child started to walk or talk, among others. This information can help the specialist to understand the way the disability has been present at different stages and create a timeline of the signs related to the problem. The next pillar is observation. It is necessary for the specialist to visit the school and sometimes your house to analyze your child's behavior. This way, the specialist will observe him or her in a social and academic environment and gather information about other signs like his or her attention span, abilities to wait, where he or she sits in the classroom, among other things. With the observations, the specialist can identify external factors and natural responses to the environment. I recommend the parents to ask the specialist to visit the school more than once because, as we know, our child's behavior changes depending the time of the day, the place or person he or she is with. The third pillar is the informal assessments. Informal assessments are not related to standards. They can be quizzes, report cards, written or oral language samples, and personal materials. This is why it is important for you to keep all the records you get from your child's school. The last pillar is the norm reference test or standardized test. With the information these tests provide, the specialist will be able to describe your child's performance in reference to his peers and also determine a baseline to assist in measuring progress during and after intervention. I will go in depth on this pillar in another unit called How to Understand Assessments. Now let's talk about the 4 key objectives of the assessments. The first one is to identify what is the specific problem or disability the child has. The second objective is to understand the degree of severity, for example, mild or moderate, severe or non-significant. The third objective is to create a baseline to evaluate the progress and after receiving treatment. The fourth objective is for the specialist to offer specific recommendations and key actions that will help set program goals. There are different types of assessments used for special education. For example, cognitive assessments, academic achievement assessments, and behavior assessments. Cognitive assessments are used to measure the general intelligence of a person through a battery of tests that measure different cognitive processes, such as verbal and processing abilities. With these results, we can answer questions about why your child is failing in class. You might have heard about some of the following cognitive assessments that provide numerical information. For example, Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, Woodcock and Johnson Test Cognitive Abilities, Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale, Universal Nonverbal Intelligence Test. Then we have the academic achievement assessments. Academic achievement assessments measure a student's basic academic knowledge, such as reading, spelling, written expression, mathematical concept, and others. Includes also assessments in auditory comprehension and oral expression. Measuring a student's academic knowledge lets teachers and professionals know where the student is achieving compared to same age or same grade peers. Some of these tests are Wechsler Individual Achievement Test, Kaufman Test of Educational Achievement, Woodcock and Johnson Test of Achievement. Other type of tests are the behavior assessments. The behavior assessments are different from the ones I told you before. They don't have right or wrong answers. Instead, they look at how kids interact with their world. These assessments can identify behavior patterns as well as the reasons for the behavior. Often, parents, teachers, and others are asked to observe the kids and answer questions about the behavior. Some of the behavior assessments are Vineland Adaptive Behavior Scales, Conner's Parent and Teachers Rating Scales, Behavior Assessment System for Children, BASC. You can find this kind of tests and their results under the assessments titled Psychoeducational Assessments. The psychoeducational assessment is the most complete type of evaluation, and the specialist obtains information about most of the areas related to the learning process, language, and general behavior processes. For example, how the child thinks, reasons, solves problems, uses language, reads, writes, does mathematical problems. The specialists also analyze other areas like the visual and auditory processing. It's not just if the child is able to see or hear, but also how they understand, perceive, and give meaning to what they see or hear. Are they able to discriminate a square from a rectangle, from a pair of words that sound similar but are not the same, like 90 or 19, follow directions, etc. If necessary, the specialist may refer the student to another specialist to conduct additional type of assessments related to areas of concern. For instance, speech and language. The speech and language assessments, the specialist evaluates, for example, a speech, like how they articulate sounds and words, the ability to express and receive information using correct words and phrases, the amount of words, phrases, and expression they use to communicate. Also, the ability to use language to function in society. For example, respect terms, understand social clues, understand the sarcasm, known as the pragmatic area. There is also an occupational therapy assessment used to analyze fine motor skills, sensory and visual processing, motor planning, posture, etc. There are many more we won't review in detail, but it's important to know they exist. For example, adapted physical education assessment, physical therapy, transition, recreational therapy, mental health. With this, we conclude this unit about the special education assessments. Please remember the importance of being well informed about the needs of your child to request the services he or she needs. Thank you.